Let's get right into it. Number 10. Clinical lycanthropy. Imagine waking up one day absolutely convinced you're turning into a wolf. Your brain is telling you that your teeth are actually growing longer. You can feel fur sprouting from your skin, and your hands and feet feel like they're reshaping into paws. This is clinical lycanthropy, one of the strangest brain glitches doctors have ever seen. Some patients think they're turning into chickens, cats, or even bees. One man was convinced he was turning into a bee. He started buzzing around his house. Another patient started to believe she was a frog. She started sitting in her bathtub for hours, trying to keep her amphibian skin moist. When doctors scan these people's brains, they find something fascinating. The parts of the brain that control how you perceive your own body are going haywire. It's like your brain's body recognition software has crashed and installed some weird animal update instead. Even King Nebuchadnezzar spent 7 years thinking he was a cow. He lived in fields, ate grass, and grew his nails out like cow hooves. Doctors can usually treat this with medication, but some patients keep having episodes where they think they're transforming. Imagine trying to hold down a job when every few months you become convinced you're a chicken. Number 9. Proprioception failure. Imagine waking up one day and your body just disappears. Not literally, your body is still there, you just can't feel where it is anymore. This nightmare scenario actually happens to people with proprioception failure. Proprioception is your body's sixth sense. It tells your brain where all your parts are without looking. When this system breaks down, things get really weird really fast. Picture trying to walk when you can't feel your legs. It's like trying to operate a puppet while blindfolded. People with severe proprioception failure have to literally watch their feet to walk, look away for a second, and suddenly you're doing an involuntary breakdance on the floor. Want to grab a cup of coffee? Better keep your eyes glued to your hand, because the moment you look away, your arm might decide to go on an adventure without telling you. One patient described it as feeling like her limbs were drunk while her mind was sober. Another said it felt like his body parts would drift away into space if he closed his eyes. When doctors test this condition, they ask patients to close their eyes and touch their nose. For someone with proprioception failure, their finger might end up poking their eye, their ear, or waving hello to someone behind them. The brain is basically playing Marco Polo with its own body parts and losing badly. Number 8. Anton-Babinski Syndrome. Anton-Babinski Syndrome makes people completely blind, but their brain refuses to believe it. One woman woke up after a stroke, completely blind, but insisted she could see everything perfectly. When doctors asked her to describe the room, she made up elaborate details about windows that weren't there and paintings that only existed in her mind. She'd confidently walk into walls while describing the clear pathway ahead of her. Her brain was literally making up a whole movie just for her, complete with special effects and everything. It's like having your own personal Netflix running in your head, except none of it is real. Scientists think this happens because the part of your brain that checks if you're seeing things correctly gets damaged, so your brain just starts making stuff up rather than admitting it can't see. One patient in Germany was convinced he could see his doctor wearing a bright red tie. The doctor wasn't wearing any tie at all. Another patient kept describing the beautiful sunset outside her window at 3 in the morning. These people will argue with you if you tell them they're blind. They'll get angry and insist you're the one who's confused. One patient was so convinced they could see that they tried to drive a car. Thankfully, the family hid the keys before anything went wrong. Number 7. Hemispatial Neglect. Imagine waking up one day and half of your world disappears, not because you can't see it, but because your brain decides to pretend it doesn't exist. This is hemispatial neglect. You're at a restaurant, enjoying your meal. The waiter asks why you haven't touched half your food. You look down, confused, because as far as you're concerned, you've eaten everything on your plate, but the left side of your plate is still full. Your brain is literally ignoring the left side of reality. People with this condition will only put makeup on one side of their face. They'll bump into door frames on their left side because their brain acts like they don't exist. When someone with hemispatial neglect draws a clock, they squish all 12 numbers into the right half. The left side remains completely empty, and if you point this out to them, they'll look at you like you're the one who's wrong, because to them, that's what a clock looks like. Their eyes work perfectly fine. The information reaches their brain, but their brain simply ignores it. Scientists proved this by showing patients pictures of houses on fire. When the fire was on the right side, patients would say, "The house is on fire." But when the fire was on the left, they'd just say, "Nice house." Their brain just erased the fact that half the house was on fire. Number 6. The Capgras Delusion. Imagine waking up one morning, looking at your mom, and being absolutely convinced she's been replaced by an identical clone. Your mom looks exactly the same, sounds the same, even has the same annoying habit of telling you to clean your room, but something in your brain is screaming that this is not your real mom. This is Capgras Delusion, and it's your brain's version of a conspiracy theory gone wild. Think of it like your brain's facial recognition software getting disconnected from your emotional hard drive. You can see who someone is, but the warm, fuzzy feeling you're supposed to get when you see them is completely gone. It's like watching your favorite TV show with the sound turned off. Everything looks right, but something crucial is missing. People with Capgras can recognize their loved ones perfectly fine over the phone, because when they're just hearing the voice, their brain processes it normally. But as soon as they see the person, their brain instantly labels them as an imposter in a very convincing mask. Scientists think this happens because there are two separate pathways in your brain for recognizing faces. One pathway tells you who someone is, and the other gives you that emotional connection when you see someone you love. When that second pathway breaks, your brain tries to make sense of why you're not feeling anything, and instead of realizing the brain wiring is messed up, it concludes everyone has been replaced by duplicates. Number 5. Déjà Vécu. Déjà Vécu is way more intense than regular déjà vu. It's not just a vague sense of familiarity. It's knowing exactly what's going to happen next, like you're watching a movie you've already seen. Imagine having breakfast when suddenly you're hit with overwhelming certainty that you've lived this exact morning before. You know your friend is about to text you about being late for work. You know you're going to spill coffee on your shirt. You know exactly what song will play next on the radio. And then it all happens, exactly as you remembered it would. Your brain is actually a prediction machine. It's constantly trying to guess what's going to happen next based on past experiences. But sometimes this prediction system glitches out. It's like your brain accidentally hits play on a memory that hasn't happened yet. Scientists think it happens when the part of your brain that handles memories gets its wires crossed with the part that predicts the future. Your brain is running a simulation of what might happen, but instead of keeping that simulation in the maybe file, it accidentally dumps it into the definitely happened before folder. Number 4. Akinetopsia. Cars don't drive smoothly down the street. They teleport from spot to spot like they're glitching through reality. People don't walk. They appear in different positions like a slideshow of freeze frames. Water doesn't flow from your tap. It just appears in different positions, floating in midair, then vanishing, then reappearing lower down. This is what life is like for people with Akinetopsia, also known as motion blindness. These people can see everything perfectly fine. Colors, shapes, details, everything except movement. Their brains just refuse to process motion. You're trying to cross the street, and that car that seemed far away suddenly appears right in front of you. You're pouring coffee, but you can't tell how fast it's flowing, so you either overflow your cup or stop too early. Even having a conversation becomes a nightmare, because faces just jump from expression to expression like a broken video feed. A woman known as Patient LM lost her ability to see motion after a stroke, damaged a tiny part of her brain called Area V5. She described looking at a moving car as seeing it in one position, then another position, then another position, with nothing in between. Scientists can actually give people temporary motion blindness using transcranial magnetic stimulation to shut down Area V5. When they do this, volunteers see the world exactly like Patient LM, a series of still frames with no smooth movement. It's like someone took reality and turned it into a flipbook animation with most of the pages missing. Number 3. Alice in Wonderland Syndrome. Imagine waking up one morning and suddenly your hands look gigantic, like you're wearing foam finger props from a sports game. Or maybe your bedroom door seems impossibly tiny, like it belongs in a dollhouse. That's what life is like for people with Alice in Wonderland Syndrome. Your brain suddenly decides to go full funhouse mirror on reality. Objects might appear way bigger than they are. That's called macropsia. Or super tiny. Some people see things stretched out like they're made of silly putty. Others feel like their body parts are the wrong size. Imagine trying to type on your phone when your fingers feel like giant sausages. Time gets distorted too. 5 minutes might feel like 5 hours. Or an hour might zip by in what feels like seconds. It's like your brain's internal clock decided to take a vacation and left a drunk substitute teacher in charge. This isn't some super rare condition. It's actually pretty common in kids. About 10 to 20% of them will experience it at some point. Most grow out of it, but some adults still get episodes, usually triggered by stress, migraines, or lack of sleep. Scientists think Lewis Carroll, the author of Alice in Wonderland, had this condition himself. During his migraines, he'd experience the exact same things he wrote about in his books. Number 2. Somatoparaphrenia. Imagine waking up one morning and finding an extra arm in your bed, but it's actually your arm. Your brain just doesn't recognize it as yours anymore. This is somatoparaphrenia, where your brain rejects parts of your own body. A woman wakes up in the hospital after a stroke, looks down at her left arm, and starts screaming for the nurses. She's convinced someone left a corpse's arm in her bed. The nurses try to explain it's her arm, but she's not buying it. She even tries to throw it out of the bed, but since it's attached to her, she just ends up doing an awkward self-judo throw. She's totally fine with her other body parts. It's just that one arm that her brain decided doesn't belong to her. Scientists found this happens when the right side of your brain gets damaged, specifically the parietal lobe. This part of your brain decides what's part of you and what isn't. Some people with this condition have tried to throw their foreign arm out the window. Others have called the police to report an intruder, only to point at their own arm as the culprit. One person even tried to punch his alien arm with his good arm, then got mad when his alien arm kept blocking the punches. Show these people their reflection in a mirror, and suddenly they recognize the arm as theirs. It's like their brain needs a second opinion before accepting reality. Number 1. Sleep paralysis hallucinations. Your body has a safety switch that stops you from acting out your dreams, but sometimes this switch gets stuck when you wake up. You're fully conscious but completely unable to move. Your brain, confused by this situation, starts creating terrifying hallucinations. About 75% of people who experience sleep paralysis report seeing something in the room with them, a dark figure standing in the corner, a presence sitting on your chest, crushing the air out of your lungs, footsteps getting closer, whispers right next to your ear, hands grabbing you, something crawling up your legs, and you can't scream, run, or even turn your head away. You're just lying there, forced to experience whatever nightmare your brain creates. These hallucinations aren't random. People from different cultures see different things, but the theme is always something malevolent in the room. In Newfoundland, it's the old hag, an evil witch that sits on your chest. In Japan, it's the kanashibari, being bound by invisible metal chains. In Cambodia, it's Khmaoch Sangkut, a ghost that pushes you down into your bed. Your eyes are actually open during most of these episodes. Your brain is projecting these hallucinations onto your actual bedroom. It's like augmented reality, but instead of catching Pokemon, you're seeing shadow people. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.